All right. The Martian.
All right, so welcome to A-Star Reads. I'm Amy, and existential crisis of the day. Who are you?
My name's Rachelle. That's all I got.
Thank you for all the details.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
Shell and I have known each other for over 20 years now. Over 20 years now.
Definitely. Over half our lives.
Means we are very old. So
No.
We didn't meet in the womb, Shell, so we're old.
We're not. No, it hasn't been 20 years yet.
Yes, it has.
No, it hasn't.
We were at least 17.
You're not 37.
I am 37. I will be 38 in February. There you go, viewers. Now you know how old Amy is.
Are you sure you haven't added a year?
I know my age, Shell.
I turned 37 this year?
Yes, you're old. You're old. Get over it. You have to accept it. If I have to accept it, you have to accept it.
It's not that I don't accept it, I just didn't realize it.
I mean, this is kind of a crap year anyways. I actually think that we should move forward to 2021 and then just not age until next year. Like, I think it's okay to
skip this year. I don't want to
turn 38 next year. I want to stay 37. Do you think that's appropriate?
Yeah. I still thought I was 36. I am 36.
You are. You're for a little bit longer. You're still 36.
Once you get to a certain age, you just gotta stop counting.
So this is Shell. I've known her for a very long time. I'd like everybody to know what kind of books you typically read.
Not nonfiction.
So unfortunately, Shell and I don't usually get to talk about books very often together.
That's not true. Just not often. Well, you used to read more fiction than you do now. You definitely read more nonfiction now than you used to.
Yeah, that's very true. But I'm starting to read fiction again, so...
Okay. All right. So then we'll have more times to actually, co-read books. I read a little bit of everything. I even have read nonfiction. It's not my preferred genre. I do prefer fantasy, romance.
Yes, that's how I visualize you. Like all our growing up years, you always had a romance book in hand. We'd always, whenever we'd go to like a bookstore, it was always the romance section. I mean, I know that you like other books besides that, but that's what I remember the most.
Yes, and I still read a lot of romance. But lately I've been reading a little bit more fantasy. And I love young adult books, which tend to be romance anyways. But I like that whole innocent romance, not just the adult romance, but that, fresh, innocent.
Which is why you like Korean dramas.
Yes, that's why I like Korean dramas. I liked them before her. I just want to point that one out. I liked them before her.
I mean, I just found Korean dramas. And realistically, Mom's the one who found Korean dramas because she's obsessed. I mean, she's totally obsessed.
It's okay. My mom is too.
We're talking about The Martian by Andy Weir'd. Weir'd?
I have no idea.
He's pretty good looking. Did you see a picture of him?
I did not.
Yeah, not
but I'll take your word for it.
So The Martian.
Matt Damon's pretty hot.
Huh?
Matt Damon's pretty hot.
I mean, they actually look kind of similar. I mean, he kind of looks like Matt Damon in a sense. So if you like Matt Damon, you probably like Andy Weir'd.
I'll have to look him up.
Andy. It is about the Ares 3 mission to Mars, and Mark Watney is the
engineer and biologist.
Botanist.
Right? Botanist.
Yeah.
Engineer.
Yeah, he's a mechanical engineer. So, I mean, it's kind of neat because then each of the astronauts has like 2 talents that they're good at, so that they have backup for everything. So he is the mechanical engineer and the botanist, and they're on like their 6th soul day, so the 6th day on Mars. They're supposed to be doing, I don't know how long they're supposed to actually be staying there, but they're supposed to be doing this work for 20 or some odd days before they get into the MAV, which is this like mini
flying thing.
This mini flying thing. And they meet their ship. Where is their ship? Is it just floating out in orbit?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, so they meet their ship.
You know, I don't think they actually said anything about that. You take the map to get up, but they never actually mentioned what the ship does on its own.
I know, it must just be floating out in Mars' atmosphere or something like that. The 6th day in, there's this giant dust storm, which is way heavier, way worse than they're prepared for, and I guess that the math can handle, so they have to do an emergency departure.
Evac.
Yes, emergency evac. And all of a sudden, Mark gets...
He gets injured. He gets pierced with an antenna.
Yeah, there's a satellite that ends up like breaking loose and like slamming into him, and he gets pierced. And they can't find him. They think he's dead because all of his stats go down, and so they take off. They leave. The crew leaves. They don't want to leave, but they leave. A little bit later, he wakes up after the storm is over, and he's still alive on Mars.
Yes.
So Mark is basically trying to figure out how to survive on Mars by himself with minimal amount of food, having to face difficulty if he doesn't get enough water, air, if there's any kind of malfunctions, he has to take care of everything. Absolutely no communication with Earth, so he has to figure out how to survive till the next Ares mission comes to Mars 4 years later. At least that's the initial game plan.
And it's set up like a diary. I don't know. It's it's a bunch of his logs while he's on Mars, and then some side chapters into what's going around on Earth with NASA and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's it's a journal.
Yeah, exactly. It's his mission log or something along those lines. So, what did you think of this book, Shell?
I really liked it. I listened to it instead of reading it. So I had the audiobook, which I recommend for any geeks out there, because Will Wheaton is the person who reads it, and he does a really good job. He's got that whole science-y, geek, funny thing going for him already. So, and that's kind of who Mark Watney is as well. So he does a really good job of narrating the book, I think. So I really enjoyed it.
I actually picture it as Matt Damon because I saw the movie first. So I typically think of Matt Damon's voice when I was reading the book.
I still saw Matt Damon.
Okay.
But
saw Matt Damon, heard Will Wheaton. But it was Mark Watney.
Experience for me.
It was very technical lingo. This was very technical, even for me, and I'm a scientist, but I'm a biologist. I'm not a physicist or an engineer of any sort. So
or a mathematician, because there was some adding points there, multiplying.
Yeah. And tech. You needed to know tech as well. So all this stuff was the science that I don't do. So it was complicated for me, Shell. Believe it or not, I was struggling with a lot of the dialogue, that was more technical. And so I wondered how that came across, especially with like the emojis and stuff, because he's typing all this out, so a lot of the humor is in the visualization of his typing these things out. And how did that come through on audio?
I don't remember too much of so like in the book when he's doing all the math and stuff like that, did it actually like write it out like math and whatnot?
No, I think it kind of voiced it out. No, I mean, not voiced it out, but like, okay, so here's an example. When he's talking about the message that he needs to use to hijack the Pathfinder, and it goes LNCHEXITONRV. Does he do that whole thing? -USR-lib-habcom.scroll blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that wasn't boring as hell?
No, not really. Not really. I didn't even think about it not being. I'm so used to audiobooks that it doesn't even, like, you had asked me about the boobs joke.
One of my favorite jokes was about the boobs, and I was wondering how that worked out. One of my favorite jokes is about boobs. Is this surprising?
What he did essentially is he was making fun of NASA or trying to make a dig at NASA. And he did the emoji for boobs. Like, so parentheses, dot, whatever it was.
Parentheses, dot, parentheses. Look, it's boobs.
But, yeah. So, Will Wheaton spells it out. But when he spells it out, exactly what he's saying. So I didn't need the visual to know that it was boobs, and it was funny.
I guess I was just curious because this is more technical. This is a very technical book, and it could be pretty darn dry if you don't have somebody who's voicing it well.
And he does. Will Wheaton does a really good job of voicing it. There was never any points that I found, like I totally forgot about that whole link for text code that he did. I didn't have any problem with that. There were parts that were hard for me to follow because I'm even less sciencey than you. So there was definitely some points where I was like, all right, yes, math, got it.
Move along.
I could not care less what you need to do to hydrogen to make it whatever it is you're turning it into. I will never need this information.
I was laughing to myself when I started reading this, thinking that you were reading it with me too. I was like, oh God, is Shelley gonna like this book at all? Because it was so not what I would have pictured, especially in the beginning. I was like, huh. I don't know if Shell's gonna be able to finish this one. Is she gonna hate it?
No. There was definitely some parts that were a little like, oh, okay, all right, let's get to the next emergency that you need to solve.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for the most part, he did a good job of, despite it being really technical, switching back to the more funny. His character definitely had a great sense of humor. I guess you'd have to spend that much time alone.
I was so impressed by that. I was so impressed by how well he handled it, I would say the majority of people couldn't. I would say 95% of people couldn't be on Mars by themselves, completely alone, and not go apeshit. Not completely lose it. Really, I mean, if you think about it, the vastness of space, you're completely out there by yourself. Nobody knows you're there by yourself, alive. Wouldn't you flip? What is going on over there?
They really like the sound of your voice, I think, and so they're like singing.
Those cats. Hello, kitty cat.
Yeah, I
do have a very nice voice.
I don't know how realistic it is. I really enjoyed the book. I do feel it was fiction.
Yeah, fantastical.
I don't know if a human could do it and come out as normal as he did. I also, I love humanity and whatnot, but I do not think that, I think they would have left him to die.
I think they would have left him to die too. I think there was a lot of money and effort put into saving him that I just don't believe would have actually happened. I don't think that would have actually happened. I mean, it was billions of dollars. And I mean, as horrible as that sounds, I just don't think they would for one person.
No, much less other governments deciding to jump in and help as well. I think it's a wishful thought and a hope that humanity would band together to save somebody. But let's be honest.
Yeah, horrible things happen in this book. More than the movie. I watched the movie again, and they leave out some really big disasters in the movie, which wasn't bad. You can only fit so much in a movie. And I thought the movie was really good. And they actually kept pretty close to the book. There were definitely differences, but they did a pretty good job of keeping it close.
I watched the movie quite a while ago, so I don't fully remember. I remember some of the big key things that happened, reading it in the book and going, I remember that, because I did watch the movie first. But, yeah, I liked it.
What did you rate it?
What did I rate it? I think I rated it a 4.
I think I gave it like 4.25. Yeah, that's what it was, 4.25. Because, like I said, the technical elements, some of it was just too much for me, even me. There were a few parts that I didn't care as much about all the details.
I ignored that in the reading. I think I only had one issue. And it didn't come up with any of the logs. It was only in the scenes where they were having the conferences at NASA. And I don't know if you noticed this in the book, but listening to it on audio, it was very noticeable. And it drove me crazy.
What was it?
I don't have the book in front of me, so I can't just kind of pull it out and give exact quotes. But there's scenes where, like, there's 4 or 5 people talking, and they're arguing about, and it happens multiple times, arguing about if they're going to be able to rescue Mark, how they're going to rescue Mark, whether they're going to tell people. Like, there's multiple scenes where these group of peoples are talking. I'm just going to make up names because I don't even remember all their names. I'm going to make up stuff, but it was kind of like Tim said. But no, Mark said. But this said. It was just like 6 or 7 short phrases said by each people. And at the end, this person said.
Oh.
Just very repetitive. And since it was such short sentences and no context between them, it was just like a repeated Anna said, Tim said, Amy said, Rachelle said, like over and over and over again. And then like 6 or 7 sentences down, it would be, they replied.
Okay.
And then back
so they would change it up.
They said. I didn't
notice that at all.
They said.
I didn't notice that. I wonder if that's because I read it. You know, it didn't, that wasn't obvious to me.
It was slightly obvious the first or second time, but there was one chapter that just, I was looking at it like, you couldn't think of any other way to do that. Like if I hear somebody said, one more time.
Tim growled. Amy hollered. Rachelle simpered.
It was very noticeable to me, and it was just so much.
So that brought it down a whole star, huh?
I don't do those point things.
I was like, man, Shell, you're judgy.
I don't do the point things. It's just too complicated. I stick with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 is amazingly excellent. 4 it was really, really good, and I'll probably read it again, but I had something that kept it from being completely excellent to me, and that it drove me crazy.
Did you cry, Shell?
Did I cry? I don't think so.
I did. I mean, I don't really want to give stuff away, so I can't really say where I cried, but there were a couple of times, especially in the movie. In the movie, actually, Matt Damon's a little more emotional than Mark Watney in the book. It's surprising because Mark Watney in the book is pretty unemotional. There's definitely a few moments, but in the movie, there's more moments where he curses a lot more in the book. Like, he's definitely vocal in his frustration, but as far as, like, he said a couple times, like, I started sobbing, but he doesn't really go too, he really just stays pretty positive, surprisingly. And in the movie, I felt there was a little more of that fear and desperation that Matt Damon portrayed.
I think it helps with the visual. And I think Matt Damon's just an excellent actor. I mean, because in the book, in audio, all you have essentially is what he is sitting down and recording.
Right. Yeah.
So you're not going to get the full depth of his feelings and emotions. Because you're right. I don't know that I cried because I don't know that I ever fully engaged with him.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's a diary. It's a diary. And so you're only getting, I mean, he does go into some of the stuff that happens, but even when it's upsetting, he kind of does it in a way with humor. And I think that Matt Damon is an excellent actor. And not only is he saying the things, but you see his face, you see what he's struggling with. I think that gives you a stronger connection to them.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely certain things that you can't really, I was looking forward to seeing a lot of things that. I mean, he goes into detail explaining in this book, but once you actually get to visualize them, through the movie, it was really cool to see what they were talking about. Because, like, I can visualize them in my brain, but I don't really know most of the stuff, and I don't know.
You don't know what a water or something or other looks like? You don't have one of those lying around?
I gotta pay attention the next time I go to Mars. Obviously, I'm just so focused on the journey, I don't actually enjoy all the things around me.
I had a small moment wondering how when he's got the trailers hooked up and he's going to the freaking other landing.
Yaparelli crater.
Mm-hmm. When they're going there and he's got the balloon over it because he doesn't have the height for those two stupid things that he's carrying along.
Oxygenator and the water reclaimer. Okay.
Yeah, those things.
Those aren't even the complicated parts, Shell.
Do you have one of those lying around? I do not have one of those lying around.
Well, with the smoke, I should have an oxygenator at least. Jeez Louise.
I did have a moment of not understanding how, if it rolls over, it doesn't break it if it's too big and it's sticking out.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that either. Actually, even when it happened in the book. So I
was a little confused on that one. I would have sworn that they would have broken.
I agree. There were definitely some fantastical parts. Some parts that I was like, he would be dead now. He just would be dead. He would be dead. He couldn't be able to recover anything. I mean, realistically, we know that he'd be dead anyways. So this is not real. This is fiction, Shell. This is not nonfiction.
That was a kind of a glaring one, though, because it was on it. He had to tip it over. So how, if something is sticking out, did it not snap?
Apparently that canvas is really strong, and the stuff that's sticking out must not be sticking out far enough that it I don't know. I don't know, Shell. I'm not a botanist or a mechanical engineer or an astronaut.
I want Andy's answer on that one, because that did not make sense to me.
Yeah, Andy. Oh yeah, wait. I gotta show you. Hold on.
Uh-oh. Yeah, it's cute.
He kind of.
Okay, Andy. How did they not snap?
Oh, I'll send this message over to him, and hopefully he'll get back to us really soon.
Okay. All right. No, don't, because then I'll feel bad about saying all that stuff about his writing style.
So ultimately, the best part of this was his personality and his humor, and how you're able to, despite all of the technical writing, you were able to have that shine through and be the most important part, was his humor and his ability to persevere under circumstances that are really just frankly insane. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I enjoyed it. I recommend it. Read The Martian, watch The Martian. You won't be disappointed in reading or watching both of them.
Or listening.
Or listen with Will Wheaton.
Will Wheaton.
That's right. Thank you, Shell. Thank you for doing this buddy read with me. It was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Hopefully we'll get to do some other ones at some point. There will be other books we'll read together. I was surprised that you were reading this one, honestly. What made you want to read this one? Why'd you put it on your TBR?
I don't know.
It surprised me. I was like, oh, you're reading that? Huh, okay.
I liked the movie. I think I saw that you had put it on yours, and I was like, oh, yeah, I want to read that at some point. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much for watching our little buddy read video, and if you liked this, click the like button down below and subscribe so you can see more of me, of course, and maybe sometimes Shell. That beautiful face over there. All right, thank you so much.